Rob, the Microsoft Digital Defense Report, latest 2024, just came out, and it says something in there, network traffic from devices that are very poorly managed. Explain.
It's the old adage of a chain only being as strong as its weakest link. I use the example of my network at home where there's something like 60 or 70 different devices, including, and this is not an exaggeration, my oven.
You have an internet connected oven?
My internet connected oven, which I can tell you with absolute certainty, I have never patched, but it's still sitting on my network alongside my work computer. So effectively that could be a way in. And again, multiply that by all the different devices that people have got sitting in networks these days. I had the privilege of speaking to a few pen testers at our event here in Orlando in February. And they said to me, their favorite thing to see on a network is a printer. Printers sit on networks for 5, 6, 7, sometimes 10 years, never patched, never updated, always had the default username and password. SSH is probably open on them. I mean, they're a perfect way into a network.
They may go through 2, 3 generations of computers or networks before they're replaced.
The Microsoft report mentioned that remote encryption was a factor in 70% of successful ransomware attacks.
So explain how remote encryption works, because it's kind of like it's a different model. Explain.
Say you've got SMB exposed on a server. So file sharing. Okay, this is a file server. I'm going to serve files out to the machines on the network. Typically, if you've got a file server open on a network, it's open to all devices that are on that network, whether they be managed or unmanaged, or a printer or a smart heater and a fish tank. Remote encryption basically means that the files on that file server, which may be well protected, are encrypted by a device which is not that file server. So something else is encrypting the data.
Which is essentially how ransomware goes down.
Absolutely. But again, the point is 70% of these attacks came via or happened via remote encryption, via unmanaged devices.
How do then I become aware of all my poorly managed devices out there and deal with them so they don't get taken advantage of by attackers?
It's quite similar to application control insofar as step one is visibility.
Right.
You start with seeing what's happening and then build policies to allow it and then deny or block everything else.
So it's pretty easy to manage it just as long as you know it's there. Yes?
Absolutely. It's very, very straightforward. I mean, again, we've got a function, what we call network control. Network control is literally that. It's permit only trusted devices, managed devices you have control over and say can access, as I said, a file server, for example, and block everything else. So the beauty about it is whether this file server is available depends on what's connecting to it. So if it's a trusted device, if it's something that you want to allow to access it, it can. If it's not, it can't. There's no gray area. There's no decisions to be made about whether it's good or bad. It's just, look, these things can connect. These things can't.
How does your system work? Like, how simple is it? Like, okay, I scan my network. I see, all right, I got maybe 50 unmanaged devices. How quickly can I start creating simple rules to make those 50 poorly managed devices to 50 well-managed devices through ThreatLocker? I mean, what's the process there?
It's not necessarily making them well-managed devices. It's saying that if these things are unmanaged or unmanageable, they're just not going to be able to connect to my servers, to important resources on the network. In terms of how much work involved, I mean, I did it with a customer yesterday, literally start to finish in an hour.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't take that long. You just need to log the data. You need to see what's happening. You need to create the appropriate policies, and then you secure it.
This is something you can do with ThreatLocker with your unmanaged devices. Go check them out, threatlocker.com, and we'll have a link to that Microsoft report as well.